If you're struggling with quick kick doubles like you might hear in Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin or Walk This Way by Aerosmith, then this lesson is for you. Hey, I get it. It is frustrating when your right foot doubles are sloppy and not fast enough, and they don't seem to get any better no matter how much you practice them and just pound them over and over again. Well, here's the secret. You ready for this? You must practice and focus on the core issue going on here, which I'm going to show you exactly how to solve so that you're nailing these tricky kick parts and you're able to play more difficult parts of more challenging songs. You can do this. Let's dive in. Hey, welcome to The Non-Glamorous Drummer. I'm so glad you're hanging out today. I help beginner and intermediate drummers become the drummers, the musicians that others actually want to play with and listen to and have in their bands. And we do this by teaching you the non-glamorous core drumming skills that get you results the fastest. And hey, if you are a beginner drummer, especially, I've got a free gift for you. I want you to check this out. If you're struggling to play what you hear in your head, you've got great ideas, but it's just not coming across on the kit, I want you to download my totally free PDF e-guide. It's called 30 Days to Four-Way Rock Coordination for the Beginner Drummer. This is just a day-by-day, step-by-step guide that builds your four-way coordination much more quickly than you think possible because it's so step-by-step and it's so much fun. You learn a new groove every day, building four-way independence step-by-step, learning syncopated patterns, so you build the syncopation between kick and snare, and you get that left foot timekeeping on autopilot so that your right foot is split from your right hand and from your left foot. So right hand and left foot can keep time while anything's going on the kick and snare. You can do this, even if you're a total beginner. We start from square one. Go grab the guide, 30 Days to Four-Way Rock Coordination. You can do it. All right, on with today's lesson. All right, if you're ready to go from sloppy, not fast enough kick doubles to quick, smooth doubles that allow you to play more challenging songs and no longer hit roadblocks when you get to a tricky section of a song, if you're ready for that, then stick with me today. You're in for a treat. We're going to dive into all of this and really get your right foot doing more than you thought it was capable of doing. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So this first thing we got to get into, the overlooked secret to speeding up your bass drum doubles. So the big problem, I think every one of us has faced this at some point, or you're facing it right now, and that's why you're here. We keep trying to work our kick doubles. We keep trying to get them faster. We keep trying to get them smoother and better, but we're just constantly slamming into this wall. Over and over again, we're slamming into a wall, and there's a certain tempo we just can't make it past. Maybe the doubles are too quiet, we can't get them loud enough, or one note is louder and the other note's softer, or they're just sloppy, we can't get them in context with the groove. Either way, there's a roadblock, there's a barrier that we're not busting past. Here's the solution. What we have to do is take a step back. We have to look at the core fundamental thing that we need, the fundamental prerequisite skill that actually needs to happen before we practice the doubles. And if this fundamental skill is ignored, you're always going to have a problem with your doubles. So here's what I'm getting at. What we want to do is approach our right foot the exact same way we approach our hands. So a common sense approach when we're working on hand stuff, let's say we're doing doubles. Let's say we're working on our doubles with our hands and we're working on like a double stroke roll. Well, let's say that's sloppy. Let's say there's an issue going on with the weak hand. What is the first thing you should do? I'd say that first thing you should do is isolate the weak hand and just play some singles, right? Just so you can see the grip that's going on, see the motion, and make sure you've got those singles squared away. Well, what if we just apply that to our right foot? Let's apply that same strategy to our right foot. If we're having trouble with doubles down here, well, let's check out our singles. Because what I notice in so many students, and I noticed this for sure in myself, when I was getting started and I was running into trouble in faster songs, what I noticed was that maybe I could fake my way through some doubles occasionally, but what I usually had a hard time with were kick singles. I know it sounds weird, but you got to try this out with me. Try playing kick singles at different tempos and just keeping your kick drum steady, and you'll find that there are some weak spots, certain tempos that feel really awkward. So that's where we're going with this. If you're having trouble with your kick doubles, you've got to isolate your kick singles. It sounds so simple, like too simple to be what works with this, but I promise you this works, and this is going to get you out of the rut. So let's talk about this a little more. How to practice your bass drum singles for maximum speed and strength growth. Because we don't really know how to practice our kick singles, and that's why we tend to not practice them, right? You know, we might be running into a barrier constantly working on the doubles, and maybe we know we should practice the singles instead, but what are we going to do? Just sit here and Like, just sit here and do that? Is that how it works? How do we do this? So we gotta talk about the how here, the nitty gritty, so you know exactly what to work on so you can overcome this. Here's the secret to effective bass drum singles practice. Practice the awkward tempos. So this is gonna be different for everybody, but I know for me, eighth notes around about 100 beats a minute. That was an awkward tempo. So 100, about right here-ish, give or take a few clicks. Right around there, maybe a little slower or a little faster. That was my awkward tempo, and I was clumsy at any song around that tempo. And I had a hard time, I was struggling with my kick doubles at the same time I was struggling with these awkward singles tempos. So what you've got to do is practice singles at all of the tempos, within reason, of course. So what we're going to do here, we're going to start at 60 beats a minute. What I want you to do, you can do this along with me, but I'm going to tell you all the specific tempos and exactly what to do so you can take this to your practice room. But we're going to practice playing steady kick note 8s at 60 beats a minute, which is very slow. And what we want to actually do is gradually work our way up to 140 and even faster. But don't worry about faster yet, because we've got to get those awkward tempos solid first, and then you can go fast, and then you're going to be seeing some serious results with your doubles, obviously, because if you build up the strength and you can play clean, precise singles, that directly translates to the doubles. Just like with your hands, if you can play singles really well, especially as you get those faster, that directly translates to your doubles. And so if there's any trouble with doubles, whether it's hands or your foot down here, revisit your singles. This is key. So let's do some 60 beats per minute eighth notes. I'm going to get my metronome going. I'm going to count us off. You can play along with me if you want to. Here we go. Now, if you're watching the way the beater moves, you might notice how it's not moving in like a constant back and forth motion. There's like a wobble in the middle. We'll talk about that a little more in a moment. But let's go ahead and jump to 80. Of course, make sure you're not increasing the tempo until you're solid at the previous tempo, right? So start with the eighth notes at 60, and then see if you can do steady, consistent eighths at 80. If not, back off to 70 or even 65. Remember that we're working our way up incrementally. But here is 80 beats a minute, and then from there we're going to go to 100. And now 100 beats a minute, which I think is a very awkward tempo. You might find the same to be true for your foot. The reason why I think that tempo is so awkward and why like that 80, 90, 100, maybe even 110 range is awkward is because what you'll notice about your pedal, you can try this out yourself. We talk about this more in depth in some other lessons I'll link below, but you can do this right here. Pull your beater back with your hand and just let it go. And that shows you your pedal's natural tempo. Every pedal has a tempo it naturally wants to move at. You know, when we're playing with a stick, we can move at any tempo pretty comfortably, right? You can get your stick moving at any natural rate. But with our bass drum pedal, it has a rate that it wants to go at. Remember when we were going slow, right around 60, you see how it's actually, there's a bob in the middle because it wants to bob at this. It wants to go at that rate. What you'll find is that eighth notes at 120 actually feel pretty natural on your pedal, and you can get your foot to it's almost like letting your pedal lead the motion. If you do eighth notes at 120 or 16ths at 60, it's the tempo your pedal wants to go and your foot's just following along. It's just initiating that motion. But when you go slower than that, it gets kind of weird. And it's for that reason of your pedal's natural tempo is going to be bump, 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 closer to 120, closer to eighth notes at 120 than say eighths at 80. And so you can get it going at this rate and it makes a lot of sense. But as you go slower, you end up with that bobbing in the middle when you're trying to bounce the beater. Now, there's a whole bunch of reasons for bouncing the beater. That's a discussion for another lesson, which I'll link below. So all the details on pedal adjustment, getting your pedal optimized, and the exact beater motion we're aiming for here, you can find all of that detail in the description and some other lessons. But today we're focusing on getting our singles up to speed, building strength so we can play doubles. So let's move on with that. Now, 60, 80, and 100, that's not all we want to do. Of course, we want to gradually work faster, but what I want you to do is live in those slow tempos for a while and spend time playing softly and medium as well as loudly, because there are awkward tempos, but there are also awkward dynamics. And so what you might find is that playing at 80, right around here, you might find playing at 80 really loud feels awkward, or you might find that 100 really soft feels awkward. When you're practicing softly, you're forced to really work on control. It goes back to the George Lawrence Stone thing, where he's talking about hand technique here and stick control, and talks about how quiet playing leads to control. It's one of the most brilliant points ever made, and that's so true on the bass drum too. Probably the most important thing here, besides working your singles at awkward tempos, the second most important thing is practice them softly as well. You want to do loud to build strength, and strength is important here, but you also want to practice them very softly to focus on building that precision. And in a way, you might find that soft is easier, because when you're at 100, see how the beater's just moving in a smooth motion versus when I get really loud. There's a little bit of a pause, because when I'm going really loud, it's springing back quicker, and so I'm not able to get this kind of motion going on with the pedal. When I'm going softly, it works. But when I get louder, there's kind of that awkward break in the motion. And so it just feels a little bit awkward. So you'll find that at certain tempos, quiet feels easier than loud, and vice versa. And that's why you've got to practice these different tempos and different dynamics, and aim to be as consistent in time and as consistent with your dynamics as possible as you're doing it. And I promise you, this is going to pay off. I know it did for me, and I've seen this work so well for so many students. When you just work on your singles, you develop so much more control and precision down here with your foot in the same way you would with a hand, and that leads to those doubles. So practice that. Be as patient with that as you can. Know that it takes some time to build that strength and that control, but you are going to get there, and you're probably going to see some results really quick. Practice this for a few days, and you'll find, wow, my foot is more solid than I thought it could be. But now, once you've done that, let's say you've gotten that done, maybe we're looking for it a few weeks from now, a month from now, and your foot's in great shape, and you're ready to get back into those doubles. We got to wrap up by talking about how to go back and re-practice your doubles. So first, we were practicing doubles and slamming into a wall. So we took a few steps back, and we talked about how to actually play down here and how to practice, how to work our singles. So now let's say we've done that and we're ready to revisit the doubles. How do we re-practice them? Well, the most important thing right here to keep in mind is that you've got to practice your doubles in context. If you just sit here and you go, and you just, you sit there and you do stuff like that, a lot of beginners can actually do that fairly easily. A lot of people figure out some heel-up techniques that allow, that kind of thing. And if you're bearing the beater, it's pretty easy, but if you're trying to bounce, it might take a little bit more precision. I definitely recommend you bounce. Like I said, that's a topic for another lesson that's in the description. I share some more about the reasoning behind that there. But you'll find that you're able to get doubles going pretty quickly, but it's a whole nother story to It's another story to play them smoothly in the context of a groove. And so what we've got to do is actually practice them within that context. And so at this point, it becomes more of a coordination thing. Once we've built that solid brain connection with our foot and we've got our singles going, so that is a coordination thing, by the way. When you work your singles, you're increasing your coordination with your right foot, but you're also building that technique, you're building that precision and that strength. So now you're ready to coordinate that with your right hand especially, keeping time, and even some backbeats. We're going to start by just talking about right hand. We're going to go back to our old favorite tempo of 60 beats a minute and throw in some kick drum 16ths. We're going to position them in a couple different places, and there are a lot of ways you can practice this, but we're going to try to keep it pretty simple here. Here's 60. I'm going to count us off so you can play along with me. We're going to play the kick on the of 1 in beat 2, and then the of 2 in beat 4. It'll make sense once you hear it. And now we're just going to move those same doubles to a different place. We're going to do 1E, and we're going to do 3E. So it'll sound like this. And lastly, this time we're going to start them on an and. So we're going to do the and of one and the of one, and then the and of three, of three. It'll make sense when you hear it. Now, what we want to do next is add in a backbeat and basically just turn these into grooves. Now, what we just played, we can easily make this into a groove just by adding a backbeat on 2 and 4. We had our kick on the and so we could do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, because that's a very common context of these kick doubles where they lead into a backbeat, they lead into a snare hit, and that's where we tend to get sloppy. So the thing to really focus on and isolate when doing this is right foot, hands. It's the way I always like to say it if I'm working with a total beginner student. Think, okay, right side of your body, kick, hands. Right, kick, hands. Focus on getting that solid, then back to our exercise a second ago, but with the backbeat. So it goes like this. Just like that. So we can take our previous kick drum patterns and do the same sort of thing. I'll play you a couple of examples here at 60 beats a minute, nice and slow, of how we can take those context exercises we did with our kick drum doubles, pairs, and just throw in backbeats and turn them into grooves. So be patient, spend plenty of time practicing those doubles in context, doing slow grooves, no faster than 60 beats a minute, and gradually work your tempo up. But remember, precision and control, that's the priority here, because if anything gets slightly sloppy, getting faster is not going to help. You might feel like it sounds better when you go faster because going slow magnifies sloppiness, right? There's more time for all that sloppiness to expand and really make a mess. Versus when we're going fast, sometimes we can hide it because we're going fast. Sometimes you don't notice as much. So don't take that shortcut. Make sure you spend plenty of time practicing slowly, and also practice playing softly. Like practice playing these, do them really soft, do them really loud. So make sure that kick is super solid, really soft, and really loud. That's going to give you so much of an edge over so many other drummers out there who fail to practice these fundamentals and fail to really work that right foot the same way we would work our hands. Because I promise you, you get your singles solid down here, your doubles get solid. When you work those doubles with a groove, it becomes one with the groove and everything works together and you sound awesome. So in what song will you apply what you've learned today? So as you're working on all this, what song is on your mind? Where are you thinking, oh, I can go apply that there? Because that is key. That's so important. Musical application is so important here. I can't spoon feed that to you. I can't tell you to go practice a song because I don't want you to practice a song you don't like. Find songs that you love, that where you realize, oh, you know what? I can apply this to this song. I can work on this foot thing. I can work on my singles to this song because it's a fast song or it's a 4 on the floor with a lot of footwork. I can build my foot strength with this song. Oh, I can practice my kick doubles, et cetera, et cetera. Spend time playing music because that helps so much. It helps you spend more time playing. The more time you spend down here, even if it's not just sitting here playing singles, that is worth something because it means you are playing. It means you're building strength, and so that helps with building that control. So be playing music. Get out there, play music. Don't get too stuck on the technical stuff. Make sure you're having fun also. But think of, hey, what song challenges my foot? What song can I apply this to? And then go and have fun with it. And hey, before you go, be sure to grab that 30 Days to 4-Way Rock Coordination Guide. That's going to help you so much, especially if you are a beginner. If you're wanting to be able to play what you hear in your head, where you can just learn a new groove every day and gradually build that 4-way independence step by step, getting that left foot on autopilot, getting to where you can play syncopated patterns. That is all right there for you, totally free in the description, so grab that before you go. In the meantime, know that you can do this. I'll see you on the next lesson. Stay non-glamorous.